So my name is Denise Charles, and this is my story. Okay, so going back years, um, started in high school with uh, experimenting with marijuana. I think I could go a little further than that because alcohol is where it started because my grandmother was a drinker, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that she got drunk all the time. So she had got in the habit of asking the kids to fill her cups up. And me as a kid not knowing what she was drinking, and that what she was drinking was making her be the way she was that I didn't like. I would drink, so that would be less for her to drink. You know, um, and I was around 4 when that happened. You know what I'm saying? But I started smoking marijuana around 11, 12 ish. It evolved to harder drugs once I got in high school. you know. And I was one of those kids that I believe now, after doing some work on Denise, that I've always had an addictive personality growing up. With the fashion that was out, the new candy bar trends that was out, the toys, and I was born in the '60s, so dry goods. I don't know if y'all natives of Delaware or not, but I am dry goods. My mother worked in the toy department, so I got all the toys that was you know what I mean. So you know, it was easy for me to be attracted to something that I like, and if I liked it, I want more of it. So when I got my first taste of cocaine, I liked it, so I kept going back for it, and then after a while, it progressed to where I didn't like the way the cocaine was making me feel, so I needed something to counteract that feeling. No, I didn't want to stop at that time because I was having fun. I didn't have any kids. I was still young. I had no bills. I'm still with my mom. You know what I mean? Um, so I tried the dope, the heroin, then, and I really liked that when I tried the heroin for the first time. And I didn't listen when they told me if I did it 3 days in a row that I would get um, a habit. You know what I'm saying? I just like the fact that it didn't make me feel. It counteracted the way the cocaine made me feel because the cocaine attacked my nervous system, so I couldn't talk, I couldn't function, and I didn't like that. I like to be able to be present in the company that I was in. So the heroin kind of mellowed that out, but that was when my addiction took off because that is a physical drug, and I didn't understand that at the time. That was a physical drug. It woke you up to feed me. You know what I'm saying? And you did whatever you needed to do to get that high. Cause I wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't working. I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. I didn't. I believe that I was punished. That's how I believe. And I believe that, all the pain of growing up feeling like that, I was punished because she had a baby by a man that really didn't want her for her. And that's why she never made any more kids, because she didn't want, several baby daddies. You know what I'm saying? And because I looked like him and they didn't have a good relationship, I got the short end of the stick. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get that love and affection that most kids got growing up, And so that's when all the, not feeling wanted, and being in the house with my mother and still feeling abandoned. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have any interaction with her. She didn't have any interaction with me. She didn't want to hold my hand. She didn't want to talk to me. She didn't want to do any of those things growing up. So I looked outside of home. And that's when the streets came in, because I got all that from in the streets. And I was attracted to that because I wasn't getting it at home. So whatever I wasn't getting at home, I went outside home to get, you know. And even though, my mother kind of, and I don't know how to explain it because, even though she really didn't want me, really, she didn't want nobody else to have me either, because she had options to give me up and she didn't. You know what I'm saying? My thinking telling me that it was the money. You know what I mean? Because at that time, they was getting uh the welfare checks, and you know what I'm saying, and the food stamps and whatnot, and she worked, and I just, I just didn't feel like my mother loved me. I didn't, and I'm 56 now, and my mother died in 2013, and at that time, she has never told me she loved me out of her mouth, and kind of showed me that either. I got all the materialistic things, what I'm saying? I didn't miss any, I didn't miss the fact that I didn't have that affection from my mother until it was just me and my mother, because we always lived with somebody. We always lived with her sister who had kids. So it was always somebody in the house when she wasn't. My mother, she was young when she had me. I think she had me when she was like 14 years old. My dad was like 17, or I'm gonna say my father, because he was never a dad. That's a whole nother story. But um, I really, I didn't have no relationship with neither one of my parents, and that hurt, because I felt like neither one of them wanted me. You know what I'm saying? Neither one of them wanted me. So they tell you in recovery that the problem comes long before the chemical. You know what I'm saying? So I had all of these issues: anger, resentments, abandonment issues, insecurity issues, because I was a little black girl. You know what I'm saying? And I swear, if they had a look-alike contest for buckwheat, I would have won at that age, because I looked just like buckwheat. I suffered from hay fever as a little girl, so I didn't have any hair. So my mom used to twist it up. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, they got a picture to this day that my one of my cousins love, and she keep it on her. And I always used to walk in the house and sit it down, because I don't like the picture. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't like myself. You know, I didn't as a kid. I didn't like myself because I didn't think nobody else liked me. I didn't think nobody else loved me, because I didn't get that at home. I didn't get that at home from the one person that I thought should have gave me all of those things. You know, um, I am a mother now. I did I want to be a mother? No. I prayed to God never to give me a kid, because the way I was raised and what I was getting from my mother, it wasn't getting from my mother. I didn't want to be that to my child. So, I never wanted kids. Did I try to have kids at some point? I did. When I got in a relationship with somebody, I thought I wanted to have a child by, but that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? God had another plan. It wasn't until I went to jail. I went to jail in 87 or 86, you know, did my bid. And when I got out of jail, I got pregnant. I was 29 when I got pregnant. So to my surprise, I thought they was crazy. The doctors, the nurses, everybody was getting high. You know what I'm saying? I said that, to them. I thought I was the one that was that's getting high. Y'all, messed up and tested somebody else's urine with my name on it. It got the labels mixed up or something. I'm 29 years old. Y'all telling me I'm pregnant. That is not happening to me. And I denied it for a long time. So it wasn't until I had my first ultrasound with my daughter that I accepted the fact that I was really pregnant at 29 years old. I had never been pregnant. I had never missed a period. None of that. In 29 years, and then I get pregnant after doing 2.5 years, had sex one time, and got knocked up. So I believe today that that was God's plan for me all along. I had a praying aunt. She prayed me to jail too, because I was, yeah, it was bad. When I
Was your incarceration triggered by your substance use?
Yes, absolutely it was.
Hold on one second.
Absolutely, it was. Every charge I had was shoplifting, theft. The one that I did time for was robbery, first degree robbery. I did as a result, direct result of my drug use. Because I was dope sick. You know what I'm saying? Like I needed the heroin. I couldn't function without it, and I didn't have any money, so I stole to do that. It was pretty good too until I got caught. We all say. Um,
In what ways has your journey influenced your parenting style?
In what ways has my journey?
Or how did your addiction impact your parenting?
My addiction, in my sick thinking, I didn't think that it did. It wasn't until I got clean that I realized that it did. But in the midst of it, I didn't see that. I seen me doing what my mother didn't do for me, because my daughter was with me all the time. I hugged her, I kissed her, I loved on her. Even out in the street, you know what I'm saying? I didn't at the time, my sick thinking didn't say, well, she in just as much danger as you, Denise. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I would take her with me when I was out, to buy drugs, when I was, out doing things, um to get drugs. She would be with me. I would just have, somebody else like watch her while I go do whatever I gotta do, and then I come back and get her. And it wasn't until I got clean that I realized I was putting her life in danger, as I was putting my life in danger doing the things that I was doing with people that I really didn't know. you know so, but in the midst of it, I didn't see that. I just seen that I wasn't the same parent that my mother was to me, to her. You know, I realize now that that's not the truth. That's not the truth, because in some aspects I was. Even though I loved her, and I cared for her, I loved the streets and the drugs more, because I put her life in just as in danger as well.
Can you describe the moment that made you realize changes were needed in your life?
I just had enough. I was tired. I was just tired of being beat up. I was tired. I was tired of not being able to look at me and smile. I could see that life was going in my eyes when I looked at when I did look at myself, because I didn't look at myself very much, because I didn't like what I seen. You know, I didn't like what I seen. And I prayed, like even when I said, okay, is this gonna be my life? Am I gonna just die doing this? You know what I'm saying? They even attempted several times. You know what I'm saying? To die. Took the punk way out though, because I wouldn't cut myself, I wouldn't shoot myself. You know what I'm saying? I would just get high for days, not sleeping, not eating, just drinking and doing every kind of drug that I can do. And then thinking that, okay, when I do go to sleep, I just ain't gonna wake up. No, that didn't happen, obviously, because I'm sitting here looking at you, right? You know, um, I just had enough, and I just said, I'm not gonna be that 50-year-old woman on the corner panhandling for some change for a beer. I'm not gonna be that girl in the alleyways doing what we do when we out there. I'm just not gonna be that girl. Something gotta give. It's gotta be something better out here for you. Denise. This can't be your life. You know what I'm saying? So
What was your initial attempt to get help?
my initial attempt to get help, you know, I think my initial attempt to get help, I really didn't want the help. I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand why, people were saying I had a disease of addiction. I wanted to understand that. I wanted to learn about that. I never said that I was never going to get high again. I just wanted to understand that part of this. What is this thing y'all call a disease that I walk around with? What is that? What makes me, you know, what makes the chemicals do what it do to me and no one else? You know, because I know people that are, they say, functional addicts. You know what I'm saying? Why does it take me where it takes me? You know,
Did you seek any services in the state of Delaware to help you on your journey to recovery?
I did not. I did not. I was smart enough to know that Delaware was not going to work for me. I was not going to be able to get clean in my hometown, so I had to remove myself from what was comfortable for me to set a firm platform for me to walk on in this journey.
Where did you go and what services did you
I
receive?
went to Pennsylvania. My first uh, recovery um, house was a program called Easy Does It. Easy Does It. I went there. Um, and I stayed clean. I stayed clean for like 5, 6 years. You know what I'm saying? And then I just woke up one morning and wanted to get high, so I got high, and I stayed out 10 more years. You know, and I missed all the firsts for my daughter. You know what I'm saying? And that's a regret that I'm currently working on. That regret that I missed all of that stuff with her. You know, I missed the abuse that she went through. You know what I'm saying? Because I was out in the street, so I didn't know, what she was going through as a teenager or coming into teenage years in that 10 years that I was out there, and lost my mother in that 10 years. And then I just said I had enough.
Was your daughter taken from you, or did you initiate the transition?
I did initiate that. I was smart enough to know in the insanity that I was living in daily that it was better for her if I gave custody to my mother. I knew that, so that's what I did prior to leaving.
Did you ever fear that your daughter would feel the same emotions that you felt living with your mother?
I never thought about it. My mother did it different with my daughter. That's where the jealousy come in at. I was jealous. You know what I'm saying? Because everything that I thought my mother should have did for me, she did for my daughter and some. You know what I mean? So I had resentments for a long time for my daughter in their relationship. I was jealous of it. So no, I didn't have any thoughts.
Did you and your daughter return your relationship? What's your relationship with her
Mhm.
now?
I have a good relationship with my daughter. My daughter has her own trauma and whatnot that she has to work through, or even want to work through, even want to figure out why she feels like she feels. I've had conversations with her where she understands the disease of addiction. She understands that I wasn't in my right state of mind. You know what I'm saying, and that I couldn't be there on most days because I wasn't there for me. She understands that. Does she forgive me? I don't know.
What role did your daughter play in your recovery or your addiction?
But she didn't play any role in any of that. She really didn't. Other than me, again, hurting her to feed my addiction, you know, because I would. I didn't understand that until I got clean. I didn't see that till I got clean, that I was taking her money, what I'm saying, that I was selling her toys when I buy them, those things, what I'm saying. And she didn't understand because as a kid, she didn't, because my mother came in and saved the day, what I'm saying. When I did what I did at active addiction, my mother would make up for it. No.
Did you use during your pregnancy?
I did not, because I was on heroin. And by being on heroin, like, even the people that uses it, we don't know what's in it. So we taking a chance by putting it in us anyway. So it's smarter, safer for me to go on a meth clinic.
Did you breastfeed?
I did not, because I was on a meth clinic. I couldn't with her. And my daughter was premature. She was 3 pounds 11 ounces when I had her. And that, I thought, because I was high risk, that had something to do with my active addiction, and it didn't. It had something to do with just the way I was made. You know what I'm saying? It was just the way I was made. Yeah. So I went on a clinic to do that. And I knew enough about meth that I didn't want to stay on it once I had my daughter. But it's a money thing, so they wouldn't willingly detox me, so I had to make them.
Two questions.
Mhm.
When you say that is the way that you are, can you describe that?
Okay, so my reproductive system is built small already. And when you conceive a baby and the baby is growing, your cervix gets smaller. It kind of forms into like this little funnel was already small. So by that happening, when I got pregnant, that compromised my cervix even more. It had nothing to do with the fact that I was using all those years in the drugs and stuff. It's just the way my reproductive system was made. So I had to, my daughter, uh, I went into premature labor like 5 times with her. You know, to the point where they had to sew my cervix up just so I would stop going into premature labor. You know,
How did you learn that you had the way? How did you learn the way you were?
the third time I had a premature labor, because you know what I'm saying, I was only like 4 months, so you know what I mean. So wasn't no reason. I mean, wasn't no way that I should have been in labor. But the way my body is made, my body was telling my body that it's time for this baby to come out. Like she's is for a term, and it wasn't. It was just, you know what I'm saying. It's just my cervix is already small, so it kind of when she started growing, it kind of start forming this funnel, which tells your body that this baby is ready to come out. You know what I mean? So they had to sew it up so it'll stop.
Were you in the state of Delaware at the time?
I had my daughter at Christiana Care.
And did you have insurance, or who paid for the care?
I had insurance. I had the state insurance for that, and because of that, I think a lot of people that don't understand the disease of addiction, they frown upon addicts or even people that's like on the meth clinic and whatnot. So when I actually went into labor, the hospital kept sending me home. They kept sending me home because I was on the meth clinic. I was on the meth clinic and I had a history of drug abuse. You know what I'm saying? Which made it dangerous for me because my daughter was coming. She was actually coming this time, and she was coming breech. So you know what I'm saying? If she would have kicked holes through my cervix, that would have just ruined me and her at the time. And they kept sending me home. They kept sending me home. So finally, my mom said, "Well, listen, you need to tell them that you bleed in, and just yeah, so they can keep you." You know what I'm saying? My doctor was not happy about that. You know what I'm saying? They got all of them got reprimanded. You know, for doing that, because she said, "Well, y'all was supposed to admit her." Like, you know what I mean? Y'all was supposed to admit her. So they wound up doing a C-section because she was coming. Her feet were coming. By the time my doctor got there, her feet was already out. She had already kicked through the stitches and everything. You know. Yeah.
Besides being turned away from that type of service during your pregnancy for your addiction, was there any other um, experience that you had that you could share about your pregnancy and your addiction
Well, I mean,
in the medical field as well?
in the medical field. In the medical field. So, ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Let me get it together because I know what I want to ask.
Okay.
In your experience with Christiana Hospital,
hmm
was that the only time or the only thing, your cervix being narrow, did you're having the premature labor, and then them turning you around? Were there any other experience you could give us that you had with Christiana Care and your addiction
No.
during pregnancy?
No. Mm-mm.
Looking back, what would you say was your most rewarding aspect in your journey to recovery?
The fact that my daughter had a child and I was not in active addiction, so my grandson will be 4 Wednesday coming. You know what I'm saying? And he had, and this is what he said. Like, he don't see that girl. You know what I'm saying? So that I was clean when she had her child. And I was able to be there for her. And still is able to be there with her 26 years old. So she, you know what I mean? She still called mom. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What advice would you give to other people who are currently struggling with substance abuse?
Give yourself a break. Like, give yourself a chance. You know what I'm saying? Know that you're worth it. Because you are. It's hard work. It is hard work. I'm not even going to hold you on that one. It's hard work. To stay clean. You know what I'm saying? But give yourself a chance and be open to chance and ask for help. So I had a hard time with that. That's one of the hardest things I had. I had a hard time with that. I stayed clean 5 years and I was just that clean. I was just that clean, and I didn't know why. I was still feeling I wasn't feeling what I was seeing in other recovering addicts. You know what I'm saying? The glow, the smile. I wasn't feeling that. I was just clean. You know, so my one of my boss at the time, 'cause I worked for Divine Light for several years. And Mr. Stokes, he died last year, but Mr. Stokes threatened my job if I didn't get a sponsor. He said, "You need some women in your life." You know what I'm saying? So that was the hardest thing to ask another woman to show me how to be a woman. You know, so I can be a better mother, and I can be a better wife, and a better friend. That was hard. So
What was that support that you received from other women that helped you get your glow?
sponsorship, and my sponsor sister. Yeah, so I had to trust somebody because I didn't have no females in my life that I could trust. So I had to trust somebody. And that was suggested. You can't trust everybody, Denise, but you gotta trust somebody, you know. So I trusted them, you know. And I was able to embrace that unconditional love that I get from them, you know, which shows in my relationship with my daughter and my grandson. And sometimes the husband. Sometimes. Yeah.
What advice would you give to other people who are currently struggling?
That same connect with somebody. Yeah, you did just ask me that. But I mean uh just ask for help. Just ask for help. You know what I'm saying? Just ask for help and be open for that help. Cause you know, as addicts sometimes we try to tell the help how to help us. You know what I'm saying? Never, you know what I'm saying? And Denise, if you doing it your way all this time, then why are you taking your own suggestions? Let somebody else give you some suggestions. And look at that. You don't, you know what I'm saying? Because doing it your way, it didn't work for you. So let somebody else help you. My suggestion to them would be my advice to them would be get you a support system and use them. And use them.
What would a support system look like?
Well, for me, my support system is somebody who has my best interest at heart. Somebody who is doing what I'm attempting to do, or has been doing it longer than me, to show me how to do it. You know, um, m- uh, in the religious part, you know what I'm saying. Like I said earlier on, you know, I got a praying aunt who's been praying for me my whole life. You know what I'm saying. You know, and her daughters, which are my cousins, are my support systems. If I can't get in touch with none of my sponsee sisters, I can call one of them, talk to them. You know, they can give me their experience on whatever it is that I need um, help, assistance with, or just a listening ear if I just need to vent. You know, even my coworkers at my job. Even though it's not a requirement to be in recovery to work at a rehab, it's not. But for the most part, my coworkers are all in recovery. You know, they all have some sobriety in them. So that's my support system.
How important is it to be around other recovering
It's very important for me to be around other recovering addicts, even if I can't be there in person. You know what I'm saying? The Zoom platform is wonderful. I can still go on the Zoom in the Zoom meeting. You know, my job at work, I'm in a room by myself. Now at the time is the devil's playground. I can put a Zoom meeting on at work. When I'm doing my work, just listening to other recovering addicts share their experience, strength, or hope with whatever they going through or been through, or need help with. You know, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.